Hello, friends. Hello. So, today I'm going to bring you the video that I had um, mentioned in a previous video. Somebody had asked if I would be willing to do a video with my dad since I had a unique situation of detailer and dealer, and we have a good working relationship. Detailing is not the only thing that I do for them. However, it is the biggest part of my job. I have helped him at the auction. I will help him transport vehicles. Um, a lot of times they need to be taken to the body shops, and you need two drivers. So, I do not just do detailing. And so, anyway, it was requested that with my unique situation that maybe I bring in his point of view, but I also wanted to bring your questions. And so I made a video, I don't know, a month or two ago, explaining what we were going to do, and that he agreed to do the interview, or at least have the discussion with me. And I asked you to submit your questions in the comments, and we had quite a few questions. So I brought a majority of those to him. And so on our way back from Topeka, Kansas, from the auction, that gave us the opportunity to have this discussion. Now, this video is you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time hearing him. I did my best to edit out some of the background noise. Obviously, running in a vehicle, you're going to pick up that background noise, and it's frustrating. But what you do hear, I hope, will maybe help some detailers to understand the dealer's side of things. I have never, and I will tell you, I have never had a complaint from him on my detailing work, even when I sucked at it. And there are times that these vehicles will come to me and I still suck at it. So this video is going to be lengthy, and I know that it's going to be lengthy, but I hope that you will take the time to sit down, hear his side of things. I will pose the questions to him and allow him to answer those. But anyway, here you go with our discussion. So we are on our way home. We just left the auction, which was my first experience, but you'll see the video on that later. But now that I have Dad here, we are going to go over the dealer versus detailer. Detailers seem to have a love-hate relationship with dealers, so because my situation is unique, wanted to kind of bring this to you, and it was asked for. So you ready for all my questions?
Sure.
Okay, well, the first question, and this is a very popular question, and that is, why are you in a wheelchair?
The short answer is that I had cancer about, first time was in 1987, malignant metastatic melanoma. The first time I had surgery was, spring of '88, if I remember right. But anyway, and then it metastasized, formed a tumor in my spine about the size of a football, it told me. And it attached itself between my second and third lumbar vertebrae. I did surgery, and they removed about 95% of it. I went, because they didn't think I was going to survive for 5 years. They put me in 60 days of radiation therapy immediately after the surgery. Like I said, they got all but 5% of the tumor, and it was continuing to grow, the remaining 5%. So I did 60 days of targeted radiation therapy, which it killed a kidney. And over time, ensuing, however many years that is, it has caused the nerve roots in my spine to cluster. I have lost the myelin sheath on the axons that control my lower legs, and I've been fighting for however many years that's been. Used to be a horse trainer. That obviously doesn't work anymore. So, I started out walking with a cane, and I walked with 2 canes, and then I walked with 2 canes and rode an electric scooter around horse shows and stuff. Then it's finally progressed to the point where about 5 years ago, I really couldn't stand at all anymore. The weakness in my lower legs is just bad enough that I can't support my own weight. So the easiest thing to do was to ride a wheelchair.
And sit around all day.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so I hope that answers everybody's question. I know it's a longer answer, but there's a lot more to it. But he was not in an accident. He is not a paraplegic or anything like that. It was cancer. So I hope that explains that. So the next question came from Tedley, and he said, if you did not have a detailer, who would detail your vehicles?
either me or nobody.
You or nobody?
Or I would find a detailer. I mean, there are some cars that come pretty clean already. They've been through the detail shop at the auction, or but in terms of detailing everything, it probably wouldn't be done. I don't crawl around inside cars as well as I used to, and I have done a few of my own, enough to know that I really don't want to.
It's probably pretty difficult.
So anyway, long story short is that, and the other thing is that I'm busy enough that I don't have time to sit around. Detailing takes time, and that's something that I don't have a lot of extra of. It's more cost effective for me to pay you to detail my cars than it is to do it myself, and that leaves me free to do things like go to auctions and buy new cars, new inventory. It gives me time to get the cars that I have already bought and not out yet. It gives me time to get them fixed. In many ways, I am a glorified serviceman. And I ship stuff around to different mechanics, body shops, just whatever it needs in order to recondition the cars so that they're safe and presentable looking. Some cars get more than others, obviously, but it all takes time. And that's one thing that there isn't enough of.
Yeah.
Doing this job.
Okay, so the next question was, I believe it was Jeremiah or Jason, and he said, what is the average price you pay for a car?
There is no average. Obviously, the cars get divided up into different categories. I mean, we're a say lower end lot, but we sell cars that are generally retail under $10,000. Not everybody can afford to go to the local new car store and plunk down a wad of cash and drive out in a new car. So we fill a need at the lower end of the market, and the cars we buy, we do buy some decent cars. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I think they've seen most of them because I've
Yeah.
put up a majority of them on the channel, and we've gone anywhere from 2000 to 2015.
Right. I was thinking about that 15 Sorento that we just sold. That was a nice car.
That was a nice car.
And there wouldn't be anybody that would have been embarrassed to drive that.
No, I wouldn't have.
So, it ranges. But even that, I mean, it's not like that was a 2022, $25,000 car.
Right.
It's, 15 is about as new as I've sold at this point. And, we try to keep some lower priced cars on the lot for people that can't afford to even pay the $8,500 that one sold for. So,
Right.
Not everybody can walk in and plunk down a wad of cash to buy a car, and they need to get around too. So that's kind of what we do.
Okay. Oh, why don't you pay a reasonable price for detailing? And that one, I believe, came from David. So why don't you pay a reasonable price for detailing? And that's from David.
Well, for starters, what's a reasonable price? I mean,
Well, I think what he's getting at is like detailers, especially ones that are more experienced, if they were to detail like, some of the ones that I've had, you've seen them all.
Right.
They're just, some of them can be pretty bad. Normally they would charge like $500+ $500 plus. So that would the answer that you gave to the previous question could actually be the answer to that one, because if you are providing vehicles for that lower tier.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, there is no margin for a $500 detail in nearly any car, unless it's just way new and you're selling $30,000 cars.
But even then, why would any detailer, and this is my thought.
And big lots don't pay that either.
Yeah.
They're paying people by the hour.
Right.
To go in and, they work a job. Their job is to detail this dealership's cars. And so,
So I guess here's
it's all about margin on used cars. I mean, I'm not a charity. I'm not here to. I mean, I like helping people be mobile, but at the same time, I have to eat too. And you don't know what cars are going to sell at any given time. And detailing is what we talked about this morning. With detailing, that's something that has to happen before the car goes onto the front row, generally speaking. And so that's money that is spent prior to you knowing what your profit margin is going to be on that car.
right.
So, I mean, there are no dealerships paying $500 for the detail.
No,
Not even new car stores
no.
that sell.
And they
high-end
shouldn't
stuff.
anyway. In my opinion, if a detailer is going to work for a new dealership, obviously they're going to have their own detailers. But those vehicles are not exposed to the things that our 10, 15, 20-year-old cars are.
Right.
And so,
The condition is better to start with.
yeah, the condition is going to be blow it out. You could even probably blow off the
Most of
dash, you know.
There are people that can tear up a car at 20,000 miles.
I'm sure. And we did see that today at the auction.
Right.
You know, you saw some of that. So, I don't have a beef with dealers, but my deal with detailing a used car, I sometimes feel like we need to have a bottom line, and I think you and I covered that.
Right.
You know that. Say, even if it's like and I said this on another video I was doing before, even if a detailer had like a 2-tier system like that vehicle I just did, that Honda Accord,
Right.
that didn't even need a detail.
Yeah.
I mean, it had
needed
some
not-
ick on the door panels and
Yeah,
stuff, and
right.
it was dusty on the dash, but that could have sold.
Yeah, it would have.
It would have sold.
And I've sold cars that were dirty.
So, in
So-
something like that, $50. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what goes through my mind. But I mean, I just wanted to be able to pose that question. And I hope it made sense that it's not something that for a car lot like his, it's not something that it just doesn't fit into the budget, and really no
even a $100
dealership.
detail can make the difference between making money and losing money in a car.
Right.
At our level. I mean,
Right.
nobody in their right mind.
So, I still needed to pose that question, but anyway, there was one more question. This man had a really long comment, but let me kind of explain what his comment was about. He said that he's watched many detailers on YouTube, and they always say that dealerships expect the best for literally nothing. The best detail for literally nothing. So his question is, do dealerships really expect a perfect car for nothing? Or, and I don't exactly know, he didn't explain what nothing meant. But I guess what we could do is take that question to, what standards do you have for a detail in your cars?
Again, it depends on what the car is. It depends on how old the car is. It depends on what asking price I'm going to have for the car. I'm trying to think of a car that I've had that, that 2015 Kia Sorento, for example, I needed to be able to ask something that was closer to its retail market value than most of my other cars. Our lot, generally speaking, sell cars at under their retail market value or their book value. That's one of the things that makes us competitive in a very competitive market. Anyway,
So basically, it just comes down to
it depends on the car.
the car. Like that Buick Sabre that smelled like dead people.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God.
you do the best you can with those kinds of cars. If you
I think I did pretty good considering
Yeah, you
it
did.
smelled pretty darn good now when I was done. But I thought, it still smells. And then I think it was all stuck in my nose.
but, yeah, I mean,
I do. I think it
I've had
depends on the car.
Some Ford Tauruses that were pretty low-end cars. And they were selling cheaply. You're not going to put the kind of time, energy, and effort in on those cars that you do on the newer stuff. I mean, it's lower market value is going to be older, less clean. And that's not even really the case. I mean, you could get some older, low market value cars. You've done, it's been a couple of years, but you did an 03 Taurus for me, and it came out and it just looked like it rolled off the showroom floor. But it was still a lower market car, and it had a really easy life.
But I've also done another, and I don't remember the year of it, but it had like sawdust in the carpet.
Oh, yes.
And I was still trying to learn a lot. I had no idea you could use the toilet bowl drill brush attachment. Maybe I could have made a difference on that car. Of course, that's why I look back at the older videos.
It is what it is.
Because sometimes they just don't turn out the way you expect.
There are dealerships where the people who require detailing to be done have unreasonable expectations. And I'll be the first person to tell you that. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. That's the old saying, and it's really true with cars. There are lots of sow's ears out there, and having a perfectly detailed car is, if you're trying to make money in this business, you can't spend the kind of money on reconditioning that on those kinds of cars that you do on the newer stuff.
Right.
There are, one of the things that makes us successful is that we are a lower overhead lot, and we don't charge as much. Like I said, most of our cars are out at well under book value. $2,000 or $3,000 under book value. That 15 Sorento sold for $85.99, and the retail value on that car was up around $12,000. And I need to be closer on that one. And there are.
Well, I think we did pretty good considering the condition of it.
Yeah, we did, and it was a good car. Again, it's one of those cars that there's nobody out there that would have been embarrassed to drive that car.
I wouldn't have. I wasn't even able to get the seats the way they should have been. But I would have never been embarrassed to drive it because I think it actually turned out pretty well once I was done.
It was clean. And it sold.
And I was, it sold. So
sold to the first people that looked at it.
So that says all that needs to be said. So
if they want to go spend $500 on a detail,
and I've said that in my videos,
they can knock themselves out.
I have said that in my videos. When you buy a car, especially if it's used, take it to be detailed. Spend the money, take it to be detailed. Because I'll be the first one to tell you, sometimes I have to take shortcuts in order to keep the time down.
And there's workarounds for everything.
Oh yeah, there's going to be shortcuts and everything.
The whole thing comes down to how much overhead do I have in this particular vehicle? What do I have to have out of it to make money, to make a reasonable amount of money? And what do I have to do to it to make it saleable? Because there are cars that you get that you can make money on, and this is it's a snap decision at an auction. Can I make this car saleable, and can I do it for a price that's going to allow me to make money? So that's That's really what it comes down to. Like I said, even new car stores aren't paying what. I mean, let's face it, because most of us are not detailing, you know, new Porsche Turbo Carreras.
No, yeah.
You know, and when that happens, that's great. Those guys need a high-end detail because most of the time that stuff needs a little bit of paint correction. It needs a lot of help on the inside, and you put protectants down, and you're using all kinds of different chemical products, and I realize that all costs money, but that's not the kind of detailing that we're talking about.
Right.
Even the BMW here.
I think the highest end I've ever done is a Mercedes and a BMW,
Right.
and that's it.
And this one needs it.
Yeah. Yeah, this car looks like somebody had a party in it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you use them like a pickup.
It's been winter time. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, I wound up making this a daily for a little while. And we drive them every day onto our gravel parking lot, and stuff happens.
Yeah. So I think there's one more, but I don't think it was any big deal. So I think we'll call it good with that, unless you have something else you want to say.
No, I think it all boils down to just basic economics. That depends on the price point of the car, depends on the age of the car, depends on the target market that you're trying to sell to. It's just all of those things have to wrap up into what a car dealer is going to pay for a detail.
Or any service with that vehicle.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Mechanical service is no different than detailing.
Yeah.
You try to get the most you can for the least amount of money that you can get by with paying. I can kind of a backup answer to one of your early questions was that if you weren't doing it, what I would probably do is utilize the detailing service at one of the auctions that I go to. And you can take a car in there and get an interior detail. Now, there's different levels, but it starts at $65. I can take a car in, they're going to wipe it down, they're going to put protectant on the dash, they're going to shampoo the carpets, they're going to clean the seats, all for $65. And that's a pretty reasonable price to me. Now you can spend more and get them to do the engine bay, and you can get them to buff the outside of the car, and you can do all of those things. But
for
still,
a price.
Yeah, well, yeah. And if you've got a new car, then it might be worth spending their highest tier. It's like $240 or something. I don't know. But it's not much for what they're doing, for what you're getting. It's a really good value. And that's probably what I would do. Or hire somebody else to vacuum and wipe everything down.
So let me ask you a question. Have you, before I came along, before you and Mom called and asked me to do this,
Right?
you were detailing your own vehicles,
Yeah, it sucked.
but did you have people coming by offering to do the work for you?
No.
So nobody just come in and said, hey, I do auto detailing if you need any.
I've had people come in, but not before I started using you to do it. And, it's been a learning experience for everybody. But, and we've had other outside detailers, other guys on our lot have had other people do detailing and not even get close to what they're paying for. Come back and things are just as dirty as they were when you started
Set it
out.
up there.
And, you know,
Mom has told me some nightmare stories,
right,
especially that Thomas went through,
right.
you know, trying to find a detailer.
And
That-
it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to find mechanics. You never have enough mechanics. You never have, you know, even the guys that are really good are always busy enough that there is a delay. And just those 2 cars that I bought today, it will be at minimum 2 or 2.5 weeks before those cars are ready to be put out on the lot. Just because people are backed up. I don't know. I try to find people that can do the job. But the other thing is that if a mechanic isn't busy, that probably means he's not very good.
That's true.
I mean, that's just
And see, and that's how I feel about detailers. That's why I get so
Right.
down on myself. You know, because I'm like, well, if I'm not busy, I'm not very good at it. And I really don't feel like, that's why I haven't ventured away from where I'm at now, because I still am
Right.
not to that point of feeling good enough. And I don't know that I'll ever feel good enough, but I do struggle with that still.
right,
But I like the job, so
right.
I don't feel any need to go
Well, my
anywhere.
cars are clean enough to sell. That's
So-
evidenced by the fact that they can lock me out at the end of January.
Yeah.
I had no cars at the beginning of February out on the lot. I had a bunch of them that I needed to have things done with, both mechanically and detail-wise, and body work, and, you know, those kinds of things. But, shoot, it's good enough that people don't walk away from it.
Right.
And I've had those guys.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that HHR, oh my heavens. I had an HHR that I probably picked up 2 cartons worth of cigarette butts out from under the seats.
Ew.
And they were used for the center console as an ashtray.
Now I've seen that in a few of Thomas's cars.
It's just incredible, and I don't understand why anybody, even if it's a crappy car,
I don't get it
you know,
either.
because otherwise this HHR was fairly decent. But I mean, the way people abuse vehicles is just a constant source of amazement to me.
Yes. And I think there's a lot of detailers out there that agree with you, because if they didn't, they would be like, no, I'm not doing these messy vehicles anymore. I'm done. Me,
Well, but-
I kind of like them because number one, I think, okay, am I up for the challenge? Can I really make the transformation that I think I can make? So, yeah, I do, but yeah, I try to do my part and get it as good as I can in the shortest amount of time.
Right.
Now, sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. That Sorrento is a perfect example. That was 10.5 hours.
Right. But that was 10.5 hours we needed to spend to it.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, there was a lot that had to be done, but anyway. So, thank you for taking the time. Obviously, we had the time on this trip. We just, like I said earlier, we just came back from the auction up in Topeka, Kansas. Now we're heading home for the evening. But thanks for taking me. I do
Yeah,
appreciate it. That was a hell of an experience. Definitely have a little better understanding of things, I will say that. And but anyway, like I said, thanks for taking the time to talk to me about it. Maybe putting out some expectations, some factors that you have to consider, things like that. Hopefully, this helps others to understand his side of things. I really don't really have anything that I can put out there that I can think of. Not really. I can't think of anything that I should put out there. Nobody really, took it to a bad level. I thought they were pretty reasonable questions. So, anyway, thanks for hanging out on my channel, guys. I sure appreciate it. If you'll take a minute to hit that like button, maybe leave us a comment. If you have other questions, leave them. Maybe I'll just make some shorts with his answer. And also hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you. And until the next video, we'll see you later.